Well, if you're a real estate agent looking to figure out how to crush it on phone sales, or let's be honest, if you're any type of salesperson at all, this is going to be a fun episode for you. We are bringing in a phone sales expert. We're going to hit him with all of the hard-hitting questions about how to get comfortable on the phone, how to use humor, and how to deal with objections when people are hanging up on you, all the fun stuff that we deal with. There are two concepts when it comes to sales and marketing, and think about it this way. There's marketing and there's prospecting. You got to either make the phone ring or pick up the phone and call people, and you got to know how to actually prospect and do your job. So today we're going to give you those tools. If it's your first time to this channel, welcome to the Prime People Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Konikow. Happen to own a real estate brokerage and a production company. I've had amazing people help me over the years. So this is the channel where you're going to get all the goods. I'm going to bring people like Wally on and explain how they got to where they are and the tools that got them there. Share them with you. Feel free to hit that subscription and notification button. We've had people like Scott McGilvery, Ryan Serhant, some absolute monsters of industry, and you can go watch those back episodes. You can also go to justinkonikow.com/resources for free action guides and all kinds of other fun stuff. I'm not selling anything. I don't do any coaching. I literally just want to bring awesome people around awesome people and empower you to live the life that you want to create. Let's get right into the episode. Welcome to the Prime People Podcast, where we cover all things that got us to where we are today, our team building strategies, the marketing and sales tips that we've learned through thousands of transactions, productivity tips, ways to really just hold yourself accountable to accomplishing what you want to accomplish, and all things content creation, personal development, and not to mention we have some of the best guests on the planet. We definitely do, and Wally is one of them. What's up, Mr. Wally B?
How are you, sir? Good to see you. Thanks for having me here.
I'm good. Facebook user, phones down, pens up. People, this is going to be a big one. And our boy, Matt LaMarche, was pretty excited to see you as well. So welcome to the Prime People Podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. Really grateful for the opportunity. It's like it's a longer line for this than there is for COVID testing in New York City. So it's good.
That's pretty funny. Well, as Ontario, Canada, so I think we're worse off than a lot of places in terms of the lineups for that.
Crazy, right?
But you know, I did want to get you into the podcast to start talking about a topic that's super important. So before we dig into your origin story, what do you think is the number one mistake people make when it comes to phone sales?
Wow. There's so many. As far as phone sales are concerned, I think they undervalue the importance of being good on the phone.
Yeah, that's very well put. Actually, I can see Kyle Henry in the other room.
Yeah.
He came from a massive recruiting company, and I see him in here pumping out calls every day, and he's very, very fluid. But, you know, people are scared of picking up the phone. What can they do to get kind of past that hurdle and just start the actual process?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I've actually built a company around that over the last year plus. And so I think the biggest key to solving any problem is awareness.
Sure.
And actually being aware of why the problem exists. You know, it's interesting because, you know, in life, you know, especially if you're an addict, and I've had some addiction problems in my life, but a lot of times you go right from trigger to symptom, trigger, drug, trigger, eat, trigger, drug, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And in this case, it's trigger, I don't want to make any calls. Trigger, sweaty palms, sweaty armpits, right? Trigger, you know, I got to prepare, right? So it's a matter, first of all, of finding out, you know, when you get triggered, what that emotion is, and then really dealing with that emotion, figure out how to make peace with it, and let it pass. Because believe it or not, I think, you know, emotions are scary, especially when we haven't dealt with them for most of our lives. But once we realize that the emotions are not going to do a whole lot of damage, we can contend with them and actually let them pass and get to the point where we can be great on the phone. And it takes a lot less time than people think.
Yeah. And if you're watching this episode, let me know in the comments if you've ever been like, man, I got to call these 14 people. But you know what? I need to reorganize my desk and do my taxes and maybe jump on, you know, Modern Warfare, start playing PS5. Like, people will always find things or reasons not to do the thing they know they need to do. Is that a common occurrence in your space?
Yeah, procrastination, avoidance. I mean, that's actually a symptom, right? That's one of them. And you know, it's funny because sometimes we can justify it too. You know, I'm spending time with my family, or you know, my taxes have been sitting around on this desk for so long, or you know, I have to work on this thing here. And the fact of the matter is you know, you don't need to prospect all day long. You just need a good 1 to 2 hours a day. But when you don't want to do it, you will find any reason on the face of the planet not to do it. And there's, I mean, in short, you know, we have external identities, right? So, you know, we look at Justin Konikow, and you're always well dressed and well manicured. You're professional. You know, you're very smart, and you know, you're definitely a giver. So people look at you as a true real estate professional, right? But inside, you know, we have these hidden identities that are driving the decisions that we're making and how we feel about things and what we think we're capable of or not capable of. And unfortunately, until we realize what those hidden identities are and address them, they will forever keep us from getting where we want to be if they are about self-loathing, low self-worth, lack of self-worth, low self-esteem, not wanting to, worrying about being liked, having approval issues or acceptance issues. And as long as those are there, we're just not going to do what we have to do. And that's why it kills me. I've been in the industry fortunately for 24 years now. I've been coaching agents for 21 of those years. And it saddens me because my belief is that everybody who becomes a real estate agent should have the ability to make whatever kind of money they make. And because they made the commitment, they've literally told their family, hey, I'm going on a limb here. I'm going to try something that's not guaranteed. And I'm going to give up a steady job. I mean, I gave up $100,000 a year job, become a real estate agent myself. It's scary.
Yeah.
And, I really believe that if you're willing to make that commitment, that you should be rewarded for that. But unfortunately, people don't understand the kind of commitment that you have to make, right? I mean, real estate's all about three freedoms for a lot of people: time freedom, money freedom, and location freedom, right? Have my time, make as much money as I want, and do it from wherever I want to. But that comes at a great cost. And one of those costs is being able to get on the phone and learn how to talk to people. What, like you said at the beginning, whether they call in and you talk to them, or you make an outbound call, you still have to be able to convert somebody and give them a compelling reason to sit with you to help them buy or sell a home.
Yeah, I mean, and you're breaking down a lot of the principles that people, I think, know, but inherently they kind of struggle with because they deal with a lot of those issues that you brought up, right? You may have the skill set, you may present in a certain way, but I'm also a testament to, I share the kind of dirty behind the scenes stuff where I don't necessarily always look like this. And I do that in certain places and reasons for people that, understand that it's not always perfect. My time blocking is not always perfect. We're about to drop actually on this channel, hit the subscribe button, the perfect day vlog. And it's funny because I shot the perfect day vlog in November and I wanted to get out a worksheet to share with people and say, hey, this is how I kind of plan my day, go print 365 versions of it. I wanted to get that out in December, but life got busy, things happened, lockdowns, everything else too. And I'm putting it out in March, and the wrap up of that vlog addresses that and saying the imperfections is kind of the beauty of life, right? And the fact that you feel that way and you're going to find a reason to dequalify yourself from picking up the phone is the reason you should pick up the phone. Because I know when I would do cold calls back in the day or call leads I didn't know, I'd be like, well, I don't know everything about the market, or I don't have all the questions that they're going to want answers to. And I would prepare myself to death. So if anybody's watching this and they're over preparing themselves, what would you tell that person first? Well,
perfectionism is another symptom of call reluctance, And so here, may just take a quick second and explain kind of where it comes from, because
for sure. Yeah, go nuts.
So here's the thing, and you're going to ask me about me a little later, but so here's the thing. There's stuff that happens when we're somewhere between the ages of 1 and 12, 1 and 13 that impacts us in such a way that it basically triggers our sympathetic nervous system. So it's fight, freeze, or flight. So it could be something traumatic. You were emotionally abused, sexually abused, physically abused. You could have seen somebody die. You could have been in a horrible car accident. It could have been something that really just was extremely traumatic. Could be that you were bullied mercilessly, right? When we're kids, we seek validation from usually two groups of people, our family, and then the kids we see every day. If the kids don't like us and they beat us up, that's tough on the psyche. We could create in our own mind a belief system about ourselves. Whether I was poor when I grew up, and I really unfortunately beat myself up over it, and I really convinced myself that I was poor. I had money issues for most of my life. It could be you had a parent that say, let's just say your dad was like, you know what, Justin, nothing good happens to the Konikow people, so don't ever try anything.
Sure.
If you do, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
Or your dad on the way out the door smacks you on the back of the head, or your parents tell you that you're useless. So what happens is these little seeds of doubt get planted. And then what happens is we start avoiding the things that create that fear. And every time we do that, or we tell ourselves we're not good enough, or that we believe things or something, we have to be perfect, water, weed, and it grows from a plant to a bush to a tree to a big, redwood tree. And so now as adults, we've got these belief systems that are completely limiting, and we don't see them as being limiting. We're just like, I hate cold calling. I'm just bothering people. They're not going to want to talk to me, or it's too early to call. It's too late to call. So we give these rationalizations that are 100% legitimate in our mind, but are completely just a product of, what we've done over the period of our life. And so if I can just add one other thing, our brains, it's funny because our brains are super powerful, but it has no original thoughts of its own. It only does what we tell it to do, right? I mean, other than our brains regulating our whatever, our breathing and the things we need to live on a regular basis and keep us healthy, your brain only does what you tell it to do. It's not going to lift your arm unless something's wrong or you tell it to lift your arm. So subconscious job is to keep us safe and healthy and make sense of what happens. And every night we go to bed, our subconscious is kind of like the librarian. It takes all the books and walks the cart around and puts the books away. So at night when you're sleeping, your subconscious is going, oh, there's this one, there's this, boom, and it's taking things and making sense of them. And when it finds something like trauma or something bad or something horrible that I can't make sense of, it goes, oh, we'll just leave this here on the floor. And every night it does that. And so after time, the cart starts bumping up against it. And that's where anxiety and perfectionism and depression and sadness and the inability to sleep happen, because your brain is now torturing you in a way because it can't resolve it and saying, hey, we need to take care of this.
Mm-hmm.
So keep going into avoidance and perfectionism and other things that keeps us moving forward. So,
like the narrative we create ourselves, right? And it's interesting too, because a lot of things that you mentioned about things that can impact us when we're younger force us to create narratives that aren't there either. Like the client that didn't use you to sell your house, you start beating yourself up and coming up with a million reasons on why you didn't get the listing. Meanwhile, it could have nothing to do with that. And it's not until you release that power and the fact that you're never going to know that you actually start gaining your power back, right?
True. And you know what? We are our own worst critics. Absolutely 100%. We're worse to ourselves. We say things to ourselves we would never say to anybody else. Like I have this, when I talk to my coaching clients, I'm like, you need to say nothing to yourself. You shouldn't say anything to yourself that you wouldn't say to your kid.
Yeah.
You would never tell your kid they were stupid or that they were dumb or that, I'm saying that they're, you would never say that. You don't say it to your kids. You don't say it to yourself.
Yeah, it's super, super interesting. Actually, Matt Lamarche just piped in. He said he wants to see a Wally-themed real estate call roleplay room back on CH. Let's figure it out. Why don't we do this? Why don't we get you on Practical and Tactical on Monday, 11:30 to 12:30 EST if you can.
Yeah.
We'll run role plays. Text me after that. I'll get Kyle on. We'll have a lot of fun. We do role plays every single day, and it's super, super key. Let's go origin story, and then we'll talk into the value of role playing and whatnot as well.
Okay.
So, origin story, what even got you into phone sales, or I guess where'd you grow up and what brought you to this point?
I didn't end up here. I took a fairly circuitous route to where I am. So, and the reason I know all this stuff is because I've gone through it all myself. For the better part of almost 40 years, I've had an addiction to food, sex, pornography, and money. And, my parents were good people, but they didn't know how to be good parents. And so, I would be punished at 3, 4, and 5 years old with being sent to bed without dinner.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of fear about eating, and not having enough food. And then I was sexually abused when I was 10. I started looking at pornography regularly when I was 11. I started having sex regularly when I was 12, and I was bullied until I was 13. So by the time I was 13 years old, I hated myself. I lived life in self-loathing. I just did not like who I was. I didn't like myself. I didn't believe in myself. And so, from the time of 14 on, I just made a lot of bad decisions, terrible decisions, that continually just reinforced, like you were talking about, the fact that I don't think I'm a good person, that I'm not worth good things. I had no value for money. And so, in 1998, when I was a junior in college, I think it was my junior in college, I got a job one summer. A girl that I was going to school with, a girl I went to high school with, her dad had an insurance company. He wanted me to call and sell insurance policies, small insurance policies. And so I spent the whole summer calling. I made one sale. And at the end of the summer, he's like, you're not really liking this. I said, no, I'm not. And so I literally suffered from sales call reluctance for 10 years.
Wow.
And then, And so I worked in the mutual fund industry, and I got exposure to personal development, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar, stuff like that. And we had speaking training and phone training. And so in 1998, I was just sick of corporate America, and my real estate mentor was like, he married my best friend, and he's like, you should come work for me. And I said, okay. And so in June of 1998, I took the test and I became a real estate agent in August of 1998. Over the next 14 months, I sold 72 houses.
That's amazing. Wow.
Yeah. So, and I was like, well,
no, I'm saying that's amazing too. Cause it's such a hard road. And then people look at success and they're like, well, look at how fast you did it. And you're like, yeah, but it took me like 10 years and hell and high water to actually get there. Right.
Yeah, and that was the point. And, you were talking earlier about beating yourself up. Instead of celebrating that, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it took until I was 30 to do this. But anyway, it did well. And then the coaching bug bit me. I started doing training, and I was fortunate enough I got hooked up with the right guy. And, I was a sales manager trainer and, was helpful in helping him build the Coldwell Banker office. We had a little over 400 sales a year. And then started coaching in full time in 2006. And then, a couple of years ago, I was talking to one of my clients. I'll tell you a quick story because this is This is because and it has so little to do with me. And a client, his name is Brian O'Neill. He's in South Carolina. He's a firefighter.
Okay.
And big, strong guy, tribal tattoos. He's trademarked the tattoo.
I know the guy. I know the avatar.
Yeah. So anyway, he walks in and out of burning buildings, saves people's lives in the sidewalk.
Legitimate hero, right?
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, we've got your plan of action. It's time to pick up the phone. He goes, no. He goes, I don't do the phone. What do you mean you don't do the phone? Can't be a real estate agent if you don't do the phone. He's like, I don't like the phone. And I said, okay. And so I started looking at what I do for myself, what I've done, and I started putting things together for him. And then I got a call like 45 days later from him. We've been talking, but he hadn't really said much to it. I just been telling him what to do. I got a call 45 days later. He goes, I just got a listing for $500,000. I'm like, yes. How'd you get that? He goes, well, I called a FSBO. Excuse me?
There you go.
Like, I called a FSBO. I'm like, really? Yeah. And he has another house to sell too. And I said, you weren't afraid of picking the phone? He goes, no, it's no big deal. So it's interesting because once you identify what the problem is and just attack it at its core, it's amazing how quickly things go away. But the only reason I know that is because it took me forever to figure it out for myself. So, excuse me, because I was fortunate enough to have so much success early in my career on the phone, a lot of people started coming to me and asking me how to be good on the phone. And while I coach people and everything in their business, that seems to be the part that I can offer the most help about. So scripts, dialogues, handling objections, tonality, listening for in between the read between the lines, hearing things, and all the submodalities that go along with influence people. I mean, I love that. And so it's really what I've enjoyed. And I think, when you can get to the point where there's nothing anybody can say to you on the phone that would jar you, I mean, you're not limited as to how much money you can make. So.
Oh, that's fascinating. And I think realizing the dichotomy of the different personality types and some people that say like, I don't do that, right? Like people self-identify and label themselves. I thought it was super interesting because I think it was an Alan Carr's Easy Way to Quit Smoking. I smoked a long time ago and I quit.
Love that program.
They talk about the self-labeling being such an important piece of, somebody offering you a cigarette and saying like, oh, I'm trying to quit, or saying, no, I'm not a smoker anymore. Like those are two very different statements and yield two very different results. Because if I say, I don't do that anymore, it may not be true to 100% degree, but it's what you're working towards. Okay. How important is that for the person that's trying to get over that hump of saying like, oh, I don't do the phone. I'm just, an organic, meet you at the grocery store, sell your house type of guy.
So your subconscious is the best listener on the face of the planet, right? It will do whatever you tell it to do, and it will believe whatever you tell it to believe. So that's why affirmations are so powerful. I am statements are ridiculously powerful. Now they don't take root like that. You can't just say I'm a multi-million-dollar producer, and then the next day you wake up and you're writing deals like crazy. It's a time, right? I wish it was that.
I'm the best real estate agent on the planet, and you may laugh at me because I'm in London, Ontario, but I'm working on it.
Yeah, right. But the thing is it's a process. It's not an event. But the thing is you can't just say it to yourself once. And the thing is this is kind of interesting. The same process that got somebody to the point where they have low self-esteem, lack of self-worth, low belief in themselves, perfectionism, any of those things is the same process you're going to use to reverse it. It's the exact same thing. We talk about neuroplasticity. Our brains are very, very, technically they're physically malleable, but they're theoretically malleable. And you can rewire your brain to believe anything. But if you tell yourself that, and you golf?
I'm terrible at golfing and I have a bad hip, but yes, I like hitting golf balls and
Tennis,
playing a random tournament.
Yeah. You ever hit up a golf ball and said, oh, I knew I would do that?
No, never. And the only time I hit good golf balls is when I'm not expecting to, and I just give up and just
right. Whack it. And it's that 250-yard shot right down the middle. You're like, oh, I love this game. But, Well, the point is I knew I was going to do that, and that's because you told yourself you were going to do that. I want to say one more thing about the whole belief system. There's some incredible marketers out there. Mm-hmm. Incredible people. You got like Giselle Ugarte, right? You got Zillow Killer, James Rembert. You got Tessa Bella Gelton. You got all kinds of people. Ricky, what's his name? I forget his last name. Ricky Caruth.
Yeah.
I know all these people that are saying, go online. And absolutely, right? You've got to build a brand. You've got to build an audience. You've got to build credibility and authority. You've got to have a story to tell. You got to be like, hey, listen, I'm the world champ at solving your problem. But you know what? Once you get those people to your door, you still have to get them to come inside.
Yeah.
And you still have to give them a compelling reason to work with you. So, there's people and you coach. I know I work with Ryan. Actually, Sir Hunt and I went to the same college just many years ago.
Oh, cool. Small world.
Yeah, tiny world. Yeah. So, but anyway, you know, people, one of the biggest things I see when I talk to people when they first start coaching with me is how much money they've spent on leads that they have not converted.
Well, our pause for a second. Our industry is completely rife. Like all of the digital media and tech companies, they're selling leads that have been so diluted that you need the skills to convert. Our conversion rate's massive. People say online and Facebook leads don't work. No, you don't know how to convert them, and you're not willing to put in the time to learn how to convert and bring value. They still work, but it's just so diluted that you need to be very aware that it takes a very specific skill set.
Right. So I think people see that and they think that they're going to have, James is going to be the Zillow killer and he's going to get them a truckload of leads. All these are coming in and they're like, okay, what do I do with them? Why they're not calling me? You know what I'm saying? So, you get them down to the 5-yard line. You got to get them, into the end zone. Here's the other challenge that I see. You see a guy like Justin who's got a successful real estate business and, they're looking at chapter 12 of your life's book.
Yeah.
They didn't see chapters 1 through 12. They didn't, or 13. Sorry, they didn't see chapters 1 through 11. They didn't, they didn't see how many hangups you went through and how many deals fell apart for you, and how many times you're like, why the hell am I doing this? And what I'm saying? And maybe so much of your business is past client sphere business, but it wasn't that way when you started. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you put your miner's hat on every day and your backpack and you were ching, ching.
Dude, I'm still doing it, right? I said this to my guys this morning. Like we're doing, I'm one of the strain ambassadors, and Ryan and I are like very excited with the whole crew. Yep. He actually has a low inventory course that's phenomenal. And like I'm in the role play room Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 9. I own the company. I don't have to be here, right? And it's fascinating to me that people tell me, I'm completely dedicated. I want to do this. This is the type of business I want. They want typically training. They want some type of mentorship, and they want leads, right? That's the 3 things that they typically need to make a business succeed. Mm-hmm. Yet most people in this business won't show up for the training, and they can get the leads, but they won't pick up the phone to call them. They're like, oh, I'll just hide behind an email drip campaign, which is never going to work, right?
Or texts or mailing
or Instagram or social media or all the other easy ways to make yourself feel busy.
Those are all resumes for a job, right?
Yeah.
All that stuff's just a resume for your job. You still have to interview for the job. And here's the thing, and I don't want to say bad news, but here's the bad news. In this kind of market, and Canada's roughly the same, either we lag you or you lag us in certain instances, but here's the thing. Since 2012, except for 1 year, we've done somewhere between $5.25 million and $5.75 million in home sales. Last year, we got to like 6.12 million.
Okay.
But we went all the way up to 1.5 million realtors and 2 million real estate agents in the country.
Yeah.
So the number of homes available is not keeping pace with the number of people who are joining the market. So if you're going to sell more houses between 1 year and the next, you got to go take somebody's share.
Yep.
And the only way you're going to do that is to like call them and talk to them and give them a compelling reason to use you over somebody else. And you can't do that with a postcard. You can't, internet's going to help. You got to do it. You got to be on the internet. You have to have social media presence. No question about it. But at some point you have to get on the phone with those people and say, this is why you want to use me over somebody else, right? You can't just, when somebody calls on a sign call, you just can't give them the information and hang up. You can't just email somebody a bunch of listings and say, hope that they're going to call you as soon as they see the house that they're like, right? Probably the same in Canada. National Association of Realtors says that about 85% of the people who actually go ahead and buy a home are going to buy with the first real estate agent that they see face to face. You got to get in front of people, and so the phone's not going anywhere. And I'm sorry.
Well, it's fascinating to me because you'll hear consumers think like, well, I'm looking for houses with you, but I know that listing agent. I'm just going to go direct to them because I'm going to get a better deal. If they're telling you that, then you haven't provided a strong enough value proposition for them to not want to go and do that. So do a couple key things, right? Get really good at the market and understand something that they don't know. Have off-market deal access. And if you're a consumer, somebody brings you an off-market deal, then that's the person you should be working with, because think about their ability when they're in the transaction of providing even more value. But if all your value proposition is, hey, Wally, I'm going to set up a portal for you, tap you into my MLS, you find your own property, I open the door and I get paid, you're out of a job in 10 years because Amazon's going to buy Berkshire Hathaway and they're going to just put everybody in a factory and pay them 1% to do their job. I think that's the reality of the world that we're moving into.
Well, here in the U.S., statistically, you're out of a job in 2 years. Almost 80% of the agents don't make it to their first license renewal, which is 2 years.
So it's the same here. So you get a class of 100, 50 drop out before the first course is done, 50 drop out by the second. I think they're left with like 3 people after 5 years out of the class of 100. and everybody's rushing into real estate right now because it just seems so flashy. And the selling sunset and the $1 million listings and those things do not show behind the scenes. And what anchored me with Ryan and why I like you, Wally, like we spoke about the podcast and I was like, I really want to make sure we develop a rapport. And I started looking into you. I was like, man, this guy is the real deal. I like practitioners. I like people that can actually do the thing, not say they do the thing. And I think the role-playing room that Matt wants us to host is going to be pretty hype. On that note,
thank you. Hey, Kendrick, what's up, buddy?
Kendrick Richardson.
Love me some Kendrick Richardson, the Chicago kid. Very nice.
So, I mean, he's got such a nice cadence the way he speaks too. And I think he's a great example of a practitioner. Again, just like Sirhan, just like you, and Kendrick's exactly that. He's doing the work every single day. Kyler Jones as well. Kyler's with my team, ex-military. And as a first-year agent, I can attest how easy it is to let your brain win the battle of cold calls. Do you want to speak to that for a second, Wally?
Yeah, this is an interesting statistic. 40% of seasoned real estate agents suffer from call reluctance, and 80% of new agents suffer from sales call reluctance. Okay. The majority of sales call reluctance that's out there is emotionally based, meaning it's due to an emotional challenge you're having inside, mental, emotional, psychological. Some of it is due to the fact you just know what to say, when to say it, how to say it. And so it's a confidence thing. And you'll know what kind of call reluctance you have based on what you're willing to do to get to the next level. So if Kyler's a first-year agent, but he's still showing up to trainings and he's still getting on the phone, and he's saying, hey, I'm hearing this and I'm hearing that. Yep. How do I fix that? You're going to get past that.
Sure.
But if Kyler's not showing up for role plays, or if Kyler's saying, oh, I want training, and I call those people are called ask holes. You know what an ask hole is?
Sure. They just keep asking. They want you to do the work for them, essentially, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're ask holes. They come training, they read books, they can talk, they can pontificate, intellectually it all makes sense. When the rubber meets the road, they just don't put the time in to do what they need to do, and people ask me all the time, like, what makes a Justin Konikow, successful? What makes a Ryan Sirhan special? It's, I work with Jay Kinner and Michael Reese, those are super successful agents.
Yeah.
One thing, they take action. They're implementers, they do what they need to do to be successful. And really, that's what's going to get it done. Here's what I can say is that if you're really willing to make some changes, you got to do some training, because you're not going to go to bed and wake up the next day and be ready to get on the phone. Just like you can't go to bed and wake up and stop smoking or lose weight. What I'm saying? It's a process, and you've got to do the work. And quitting smoking is a beast, because nicotine is ridiculously addictive. I don't need to tell you that, right?
No, same thing, right? I've talked about my addictions in the past, and I've been over 12 years now. And it's funny because regardless if it's drugs or it's food, whether it's coffee, whether it's stimulants, a lot of these things, work is a drug, right? A lot of people, they identify with the thing that they're chasing, and that becomes their true identity. But it's funny because if you can be playful in your work and find things that inspire you and integrate your passions into your work, that's where I think the magic is. And, people may ask, hey, why are you doing this podcast? I'm like, well, think about it. Extrapolate it to what my ambitions are. Right? I don't want 1 million bricks and mortar offices. I don't want agent count. I don't really even think of myself as a real estate brokerage. I think of myself as a media company that happens to specialize in real estate, and we handle the transaction full scope. So you don't have to go hire a digital agency to market your building and everything else. We do it in-house because we understand real estate and media better than anybody else. Not in the business of recruiting agents. What do I have to do to get good at my job and understand sales? I have to talk to guys like Wally. I have to dig into his brain, see what the active indicators are of developing a skill set, bring it back to the team, pour it into Nolan, Adnan, Kyler, Kyle, and then actually do the thing. Let's jump into the importance of role playing. I talked about it earlier, but I can say unequivocally 8:30 to 9 a.m. Monday to Friday is quite possibly the most important time, because when Mike hires me to sell a development upstairs, he's paying me to save him time and have those calls with consumers. And the way I talk to them when I first get that connection has everything to do with how the transaction ends up, the price they're paying, how easier they are to work with, how qualified they are. So break down, I guess, what role playing means to you, and maybe a couple of key things you can do to make role playing effective.
All right. So here's why role play is important, period. If you ever played any sport, if you were a dancer, anything where you have manual dexterity, or even for your feet, that muscle memory is super, super important for you to be able to come back and do a better job every time. And that's why sometimes people can take time off, and after just a little while, they can get right back into it, because their brain's like, yeah, we did this before. Yep. That same part of the brain actually works for recalling things, knowing what to say, when to say it, how to say it. It's internalization. That's taking those words and really just literally driving them into you, not memorization, not where I have to look back into my head and say, okay, this, but internalization where you say something and the answer's, right there.
Yep.
And I can listen to you better and that, and give you an answer and have a conversation rather than spit something out. So number one, you got to practice. It's practice. It's like you wouldn't do anything else and not practice. You wouldn't play a sport. You wouldn't, right? You wouldn't do anything else, and the thing is people look at Tiger Woods and they're, oh, look at all the money, how successful is Tiger Woods, chips 1,000 balls onto a green every day. He goes and putts 1,000 balls every day. I'm saying? He has a coach, right? He lets
Kobe was there like before, after anybody, thousands of balls that they're throwing up in the air, right?
Yeah, you hear stories about, people get up and they go to the gym and Kobe had been there sweating for an hour. You know what I'm saying? So you need to practice in order to get better. You have to role play. And this is where that whole call reluctance issue comes in. If you care what people are thinking about you and that you're going to, you're going to be judged, you have to get over that because you're not going to be able to role play effectively. The other reason role play is important is because, you need to be able to at least have the words at the ready. You need to have at least heard them. So when you get on the phone, you can start to respond. I mean, nothing's going to ever replace game speed in any situation. Yeah. But if you don't practice and start working on it on a day-over-day basis, you're going to get crushed when it's game speed. The other thing is it's a confidence builder, right? And people are like, oh, I hate scripts and dialogues. And I forget who said this. I wish I could remember the guy's name, but
I've heard that different times in rooms, and I'm like, scripts and dialogues are a framework. Like I think people think you're a robot when it's not in the actuality what you're trying to accomplish, right?
Yeah, but scripts actually let you take a call in a specific direction. Right, that allows you to take control of the phone call, not let the person, run you ragged. It gives you the opportunity to take the call in the direction, and that's just a hidden identity. That's just a belief system as well. That's just another excuse to not pick up the phone and make phone calls. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to role play to practice. You got to role play for confidence. You got to role play to go ahead and increase your ability to recall. And when you can do that on a consistent basis, I'm telling you, and this is just my personal opinion. When you get to the point, I think I said this earlier, when you get to the point where there's nothing anybody can say to you that can get you off your game, there are no limits to how much money you can make in sales. You just, how many people can I talk to? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I need somebody to call for me, and right. And it's so freeing too. The other thing is the reason you role play is because when you're on the phone, if you're thinking about the next thing you have to say, you're not having a conversation. You're not being natural. Does that make sense?
Like, it makes perfect sense. You're just waiting for your turn to talk, right?
Yeah, and then you're not listening. It's just you're listening to respond rather than listening to listening to respond rather than listening to comprehend. And so, and here's the thing: anybody can do this. Okay, I'm no rocket scientist. I'll be the first one to admit that I got into the college that I went to because I was 6'3", 250 pounds coming into high school, and I was a big boy who could play football, and they wanted me to go to school because I would have never gotten into that school. And I definitely wouldn't get into it today. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not, I was an English major. I got 980 on my SATs. I mean, there was no Nobel Prize or think tank invitation that was coming my way at any time. Right. But I just decided that, I wanted more and that I was willing to do what it took to get over it. And then realize that, if you're going to be successful, you've got to be able to get on the phone and talk to people. But if you're not role playing, you need to role play. You've got to humble yourself. You got to go find somebody who's better than you. Don't role play with somebody who's at your level or lower because you need somebody that can stretch you. And eventually you're going to do that for somebody else. You're going to give back, right? You're going to do the same thing. Yeah. Don't role play and know that the person you're with is not judging you. They're educating you, and you have to look at it that way.
I love it. Well, another guy that's not afraid to put in the work is Mr. Kyle Henry. So I spoke earlier. Have you guys met before on Clubhouse or anywhere else?
What's that, sorry?
Have you guys met on Clubhouse or anywhere else before?
I don't believe so. No.
Yeah, so here's an epic connection. So Practical and Tactical on Monday. We're going to run a room. We're going to do live role playing. Wally specializes in phone sales. Kyle's a guy that I spoke about that worked for the $14 billion recruiting company that shows up, does the role playing with me every day. Kyle, we're talking about the importance of role playing. So, what do you think about what Wally's saying in terms of the ability of just showing up and doing what it takes? And why do you think role playing is important?
Well, it's so funny because as Wally was just talking, I was actually shaking my head. And I don't know if you saw me while I was backstage on camera, but I agree with everything that you said. I think that sales is a profession and so many people don't look at it that way. But if you can train every single day, it's like doing push-ups. Eventually, you're going to get stronger and you're going to get better. So it's paramount if you're a salesperson and you want to be a professional salesperson.
Mm-hmm. So, Wally, we're going to do something fun. We're going to do 2 role plays. First, me and you are going to role play Wally, and then you and Kyle are going to role play. So I'll give Kyle a second to settle in here. And I think of it like literally when we're in role play rooms, I'm driving into the office and I feel like I'm like shadow boxing sometimes. And like I fall on my face all the time, but we pick each other up and we work together. So you want to throw down a scenario, Wally, and walk me through one of your role plays?
Yeah, I mean, and just as a global understanding here, I want to get in front of people.
Yeah.
I'm not spending time on the phone with you to, sell myself over the phone. I'm not trying to give you a price over the phone. I'm not trying to go over my commission over the phone. I'm not trying to do anything but get in front of you. Okay. Yeah. So I'll say whatever I have to legally, ethically, and morally to go ahead and get in front of you. And because I realize that I can't sell anything over the phone. I can't even sell myself. Let's say I have no rapport, I've got no credibility, I've got no authority. You have all these people that are talking about, oh, I do this and this kind of marketing and all these other things. And I'm just like, let's get in front where I can do this. So let's make it even better. You just give me a scenario and we'll take care of it as it goes along. Let's not even prime the pump. You just let's do seller buyer.
So new development site. I will be the buyer. You will be the agent. So you are calling me off a lead form I just filled out on Facebook, and you're trying to get the appointment.
Great, Ryan. I'm Ryan. Oh, you Ryan?
I'm not Ryan. I'm Justin. But
is he
no
Ryan?
worries.
Did you say the name Ryan?
No, he's Kyle. Ryan Serhant is who we were talking about earlier. So
sorry.
All right. So
sorry. So ring. Say hello.
Hey.
Oh, hey, Justin.
Yes.
Hey, it's Wally with Prime Realty. Hey, the reason I'm calling is you were on our site recently. You would submit a request for information for buying some new construction. Looks like 4 bedrooms, 2 baths in Ottawa. Is that correct?
I did. Yeah, I don't know. I filled out a whole bunch of forms. I don't really remember which site this was.
That happens a lot. Absolutely. Hey, what's got you folks looking for a home?
I don't know. I was kind of up late at night too. All this crazy stuff going on in the news. Yeah, I'm in the city and just looking for options.
Gotcha. So you're actively thinking about buying a home?
Just browsing.
Browsing. Okay. So, if you could wave a magic wand, when would you like to see yourself situated in a home?
Whenever my wife says it's a good idea, because she runs the show.
Your house too. Good for you. Nice. Well, we signed up. We have the chief executive wife, we call her at my house. So if we found you the perfect home with the perfect price and, and since it's new construction, they wanted to say close in the next 120 days, would that work for you?
It'd have to be a really good deal because this market's competitive, right? And I don't want to overpay.
For sure. But if it is a good deal, you're open to it.
Like I said, wife runs the show. I can't commit to anything until I sit down with her.
I understand that. That's fine. That's great. So are you currently working with anybody to find homes right now?
No, just the internet. I mean, all the information's online, right?
Great. You can be paying cash or getting financing?
Financing. Yeah, I've already talked to my banker. So.
Oh, you have? Okay, so you have figured out. If I could get you in touch with somebody who could save you money on rate and terms, will that work for you?
I got a guy already. He's been with me for 10 years, and he'll get the deal done.
I like that. Cool. And did you have a house to sell? Or are you currently leasing?
No, I have a home.
Okay. Do you need to sell that home to buy this next home?
You know what, Wally? I appreciate that. I actually got to run. I got to wrap up this call in about 5 minutes.
I got you.
But yeah, if you can just email me that info, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'd be more than happy to do that. So here's the thing. I want to do a good job for you. And, I'm sure talking with your wife is important. What I'd like to do is set a tentative time for us to get together. We can do a Zoom call or meet face-to-face. And what I'd like to do is find out a little bit more what you're looking for, set up a customized list of homes, and then get you out to take a look at some homes. Would that work for you?
Yeah, that worked for me. Just email the info and we can take it from there.
Okay. Well, my schedule fills up pretty quickly, and I'd rather grab a time right now to make sure that I have it in there so I don't miss it. Is there a time that works better for you, weekdays or weekends?
I can appreciate that, but like I said, I gotta hop off this call, and I'm scheduled for like the next 2 weeks, so I don't really know when I have white space.
All right, great. Then we'll follow up with you in the future.
You're the man. See, the reason I wanted to end it that way, Wally, is you did the perfect thing, right? You weren't too pushy enough to kind of set some boundaries, try to get my schedule, but you acknowledged that I was busy, and you're like, oh, okay, this guy's fired up. He's got some stuff to do. And you set up the follow-up. And then what do you do after? Would you follow up with me like a week later, a couple days later? What would that look like?
I'd send you text messages. Hey, thanks for your time today. I did email you some information about that complex. And then I would say, then I would also send you an article and email and just say, hey, check this out. Interest rates actually just went down after going up a point over the last year. But we have a very small window because the Fed thinks that interest rates are going up again by July. Take a look at this article. Yeah. I'll follow back up, and I'm going to call you back in a week. And then I'm going to call you. I'm going to text you. I'm going to email you. I'm going to call you. I'm going to text you an email. And you're going to get 10 contacts from me in 14 days until you show up. And if not, I'll just put you on a monthly drip campaign.
That's what it takes. Okay, we got about 6 minutes left in this episode. We're going to do a 2-minute role play with you and Kyle. I'm going to have you throw down the scenario, Wally. Kyle is the agent. We're going to have some fun, and then I'll get Kyle out of here. We'll hit the rapid fire questions, and I'll get you out of here. So you throw down the scenario, Wally.
All right, let's do this. I'm a FISBO, okay, and I just listed my home about 25-30 days ago. My home isn't sold yet, but I'm still adamant about not listing with an agent. Is that cool?
For sure. Let's do it.
All right, ring, ring. Hello.
Hey, this is Wally.
Yes.
Hey, Wally. My name's Kyle with Prime Real Estate. How are you today?
Yeah, we don't work with agents.
You know what? I totally understand you. And I actually expected you to say that before I called you. But the reason I wanted to give you a call is because I have access to buyers who are telling me they're looking exactly for the property that you have listed. But I wanted to ask you a couple of questions about the property and see if you're open to working with agents on both the sell and the buy side of things.
So you have a buyer for my home?
We do have access to buyers who are looking for this exact product that you have listed for sure. But I want to talk to you about how we can maximize your listing by representing you on the sell side as well.
Yeah, listen, I'm not signing anything with an agent. If you bring a buyer, I'd be more than happy to pay your commission, but we're not signing anything with anybody.
Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. Let me ask you a quick question, Wally. What is the purpose and the reason behind you not wanting to partner with an agent?
Listen, I think we can get our home sold and sell it for more money. I mean, my neighbor sold this house down the street. It was smaller than mine, and he sold it for Justin's smiling. Sorry. My neighbor sold this house for $520,000. My house is bigger and nicer, so I don't see any reason why I can't get $620,000 for my home. I mean, it's only been on the market for 3 weeks.
Yeah, no, I totally understand where you're coming from. And let me ask you a quick question as well. What's more important to you, saving money on the commission side of things or netting a larger amount of money on the sale?
I mean, certainly how much I'm going to walk away with for sure.
Yeah, for sure, right? That's usually the main goal for sellers, right? My job is to get sellers the most amount of money as possible. Right. We have a proprietary system that we can talk about or not talk about, but I wanted to let you know our marketing efforts, we tap into unbelievable amounts of data, more than the MLS, almost 4 or 5 times more so than the MLS. And I can actually show you those case studies. That's why I wanted to give you a call, because not only do we have access to a ton of buyers looking for this product, but if I could get you more money on the sales side through our analytics, I wanted to show you that and give you the opportunity to look at that before you said no to me.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm not signing anything. You can come over, but I'm not signing anything.
I like it. I got to cut this off because we've got to wrap up this episode.
Tennis ball back and forth for an hour on that one. So
this is it though, right? Like you're talking chess versus checkers. If Kyle hasn't put in the work to be able to have that value prop, the conversation, like what was your vibe there, Wally? How did you feel about that role play?
No, that was great. That was great. I mean, the only thing I think it's important is to find out timing and motivation.
Yeah.
Right? That's the only thing and we don't have a lot of time here, which I'm sure you would have gotten to at some point, but like that's the hook. I mean, that's the leverage right there. What's your timing and what's the motivation? And here's how I'm going to help you do that better than anybody else, including yourself. But yeah, you were valuing the crap out of me.
Thanks.
That's awesome.
And I love your energy and all. That was awesome. So
our girl Carrie Brockhurst, she has an awesome YouTube channel as well. She says she loves the role play. Carrie, come hang out with us at Practical and Tactical on Clubhouse Monday, 11:30 to 12:30. If you're watching this episode, make sure to hit the subscription button. I'm going to ask you 3 rapid fire questions. Kyle, I'm going to kick you out of here.
Bye, guys.
I already sent you an invite as well, Kyle. I'll bring him in on Monday too. He's a firecracker. Love it. Everybody go follow Kyle's YouTube channel as well. He's really putting in some work. So 3 questions for you, and then we're going to wrap it up. Wally, up to this point, what is the greatest lesson you've learned?
Integrity is more important than anything.
Amen. I am not for sale. I love that so much. How has failure shaped your life?
I often say to people that I've made more bad choices and mistakes than any 2 people I know. And so it has pretty much been one of the biggest guiding factors in who I am today. And that, I think you have to look at failure as lessons learned, and then actually learn the lessons and don't repeat them again. So I would say it is probably the biggest thing that shaped me in my entire life up to this point.
Hey man, Pressure Forges Diamonds. Where are you located? Like, where are you based out of?
I live in McKinney, Texas, just north of Dallas.
Okay. Well, when I get my way down there with our motorhome, I will make sure to come see you, and maybe I will surprise you. And I've made more terrible decisions than even you. So we'll have a discussion around that one day. Last most important question, Wally. Thank you for making time on the People podcast. I want my platform to be yours. So where can I connect people with you? Is there anything that I can point them to, a passion project or anything that you want to, tell the world about right now?
Yeah. So 2 things. Number one, you can always catch me at phonesalessecrets.com. I've got a website. I've got a website with a free course, but I also have a Facebook page where I share all kinds of strategies about the program. I do offer a course. If you want to talk about it, come find me there.
Yeah.
But the thing I'm most excited about is my book is coming out in about 3 weeks. It's called Tragic Hero, Picking Up the Pieces. And I'm excited about it. There'll be a webpage and everything for it. But basically, it's kind of half memoir, half personal development, just to share those bad choices and mistakes I made and how really you can overcome anything in life, including sales call reluctance, if you're so inclined.
I love it, Wally. Thanks so much for the episode. Everybody go give Wally a follow. Keep an eye out for that book as well. I will be. And thank you so much for your time as always, brother.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
Yeah.